The New York Jets are in the running to go out and trade for Aaron Rodgers. What does an entire offseason look like with an Aaron Rodgers trade? What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be breaking down an entire offseason with an Aaron Rodgers trade. We're going to trade for Aaron Rodgers. We're going to restructure our own players. We're going to sign free agents, and we're going to bring players back. We're even going to do a mock draft and ultimately build a New York Jets roster that is win now mode. So let's hop right into it. Let's talk about the salary cap, because that's the most important thing, and we're going to make a couple of moves, specifically 8 moves before the trade to free up cap space to give us all of the ability to do everything that we want to do. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to restructure CJ Mosley. We're going to restructure Laken Tomlinson. We're going to restructure DJ Reed, and we're going to restructure Jonathan Franklin Myers. By restructuring CJ, we save $7.9 million. By restructuring LT, we save $5.7 million. By restructuring DJ, we save $5 million. And by restructuring JFM, we save $7 million. Now it goes on to cuts, and unfortunately, we're going to have to say bye to 4 players. One of those guys is actually going to retire, and that's going to be Dwayne Brown. But Dwayne Brown retiring, we save about $5 million. That's not including the fact that we can actually go to arbitration to get some of that signing bonus that he's supposed to be given next year back to the salary cap. I didn't calculate that amount because I don't know what we would win, but that is something to keep in mind. But the 3 cuts that are going to happen is we're going to be cutting Carl Lawson, which is going to save us $15 million. Thank you for being a New York Jet, Carl. We didn't want to do this, but at $15 million, you were just too expensive, and Jermaine Johnson and Michael Clemens were that good that we didn't really need you, unfortunately. The next cut is Corey Davis. Thank you for being a New York Jet. We enjoyed you while you were here, but unfortunately, you can't stay healthy and you can't stay on the field. And the last cut that the New York Jets are going to be making, and this one absolutely hurt my heart to make, that is Braxton Berrios. It has nothing to do with Braxton Berrios and his ability, and has everything to do with Braxton Berrios and his contract. At $8 million for the level of play that you're giving us isn't worth it, so we're going to take the saving of the $5 million. Thank you for being a New York Jet, and while you were here, we really do appreciate your time, and enjoy the rest of your career somewhere else. After making all of those cuts and restructuring, we end up having $58,078,275 in cap space. So let's go trade for Aaron Rodgers. So we call Green Bay and we say, here's the package that we're going to give for Aaron Rodgers. They accept the deal, and the trade goes like this. We will be sending off this year's first-round pick, the number 13th pick, to Green Bay, as well as next year's 4th-round pick. Now, it is a conditional 4th-round pick. It can turn into a 3rd if Aaron Rodgers plays next year. It can turn from a 3rd into a 2nd if Aaron Rodgers takes us to the playoffs, and it can turn from a 2nd into a 1st if we make it to the Super Bowl. So it can ultimately end up being 2 first-round picks, but this year we only lose the 13th pick, and it was actually something that I made sure that we were going to give up, was the 13th pick. Now, a lot of people are going to ask why. One, I don't think Green Bay is going to accept a trade where we don't give up a first-round pick, either this year or next year. And I know what a lot of you are going to say. Why would you give up this year's 13th pick when next year we're going to be picking way past 25 with Aaron Rodgers, blah, 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 blah. Well, here's the reasoning. The cap. We want to go big in free agency, and we want to bring in a lot of players, and a lot of money needs to be spent. But if we sign a first-round pick this year, all of that's going to add up. Remember, guys, for the last couple of years, we've had 2 or 3 first-round picks every year, and those contracts are going to catch up on us. Elijah Vera Tucker and Zach Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson all have first-round pick contracts, and it's going to add up. Skipping out on a first-round pick this year helps us against the cap this year, but also gives us a lot of flexibility in free agency this year. So I made sure that we gave up the 13th pick for Aaron Rodgers. And now let's move in to free agency. After we trade for Aaron Rodgers, that leaves us with $37.3 million in cap space. Let's talk about the guys that are on the roster that we're bringing back. One of the guys that I made a priority to bring back was Sheldon Rankins. I think he earned his time here with the New York Jets and ultimately became Quinnen Williams' Robin to Quinnen Williams' Batman. And so we're going to give Sheldon Rankins not only a 2-year extension, but a raise. We're going to give Sheldon Rankins 2 years at $14.5 million. That is $7.25 million per year. We're also going to be bringing back Greg Zuerlein. He did a great job as a kicker, and so we're going to bring him back 2 years, $3.5 million, $1.75 million per year. We're going to bring back Nate Herbig on the same deal that he signed with Philly last year. We're going to bring him back on a 1-year, $2.5 million deal, and he's going to take the spot of Dan Feeney and what Dan Feeney did for us this past year, and he's going to be the backup guard / center. We're also going to be bringing back Nathan Shepard, 2 years, $2.5 million. That's about a little bit more than what he makes now on the team. I think he earned his rotational spot in the interior of the defensive line, and we can't leave that position this empty because right now all we have is Quinnen Williams. So we're bringing back Sheldon Rankins because he earned it. We're bringing back Nathan Shepard because I think he did a fantastic job there. And then the last guy that we're bringing back is Ty Johnson. We're bringing Ty Johnson back 1 year, $1 million. Now, the other two guys are restricted free agents, so technically they can walk. But I hit Bryce Huff with a second-round tender. That would make him 1 year, $4.3 million if he decides to stay with the New York Jets and not find a contract elsewhere. Why am I tendering Bryce Huff instead of extending him? One, because of the money this year. I want to keep Bryce Huff on this team long term. I don't see another team giving him more than $4.4 million. And if they do, we try to find a replacement for him in the second round. That's just the way that it works. It's some of the gambles that you got to make in the NFL, but I think he ultimately comes back. And then James Robinson is a restricted free agent as well. While I didn't love the production that we got out of him, he is a productive running back, and I don't know if a team in the NFL is going to give him a massive contract. So what we're going to do is we're going to tender him, and we're going to give him the first right of refusal tender. This year, that would be around $2.7 million-ish. And all that means is that any team that wants to sign him has to sign him for a minimum of $2.7 million. And the New York Jets get the first right of refusal. They can either match whatever deal is being given to James Robinson, or they can let him walk. It's just a way to be able to say, you know what, at least we tried to keep him around. If not, he can walk. We can go out and get another undrafted free agent running back and try to see if we can get production out of him. Those are all of the guys that are currently on the roster that we're bringing back. With all of those signings, that leaves us with a little over like $33-ish million left in cap. And so here's going to be our 3 huge free agent signings. We're going to start off by replacing some of the talent that we lost in the wide receiver room. We're bringing a familiar face from Green Bay to come to the New York Jets to help Aaron Rodgers and ultimately be our wide receiver 4. We're going to be signing Allen Lazard from the Green Bay Packers. 3 years, $33 million. Now, we fudge up the cap numbers a little bit to lower the cap hit this year to give us something. So I would expect that the first year would be around $8 or $9 million. The second year would probably be $9 or $10 million, and then the rest of the contract would be in year 3. The second big name free agent signing is we do have to address the offensive line. Believing in that you're going to find a guy in the second round is a bit too risky for my taste, so we go big. And we go out and sign Mike McGlinchey of the San Francisco 49ers, 4 years, $43 million to be our right tackle of the future. Yes, this is betting that Mekhi Becton, Max Mitchell, Elijah Vera Tucker, all of the guys that are currently on the roster could possibly win the left tackle spot. And I know that that's a big risk, but it is a risk that we're going to have to take. Mike McGlinchey is solid at the right tackle spot, and we know that Elijah Vera-Tucker can play left tackle. We know that Mekhi Becton can play left tackle. It's just a matter of, can we get both of these guys to be healthy all year? Worst case scenario, we try bumping Mike McGlinchey over to left tackle, because we also do have Max Mitchell who can play tackle at the next level. I think this helps solidify our tackle room, and Mike McGlinchey is one of the best right tackles in the NFL. And then our biggest free agent signing, because I know a lot of you guys were worried, oh my God, he didn't bring back a single linebacker. That's absolutely right, I didn't. One, because I believe in the linebackers that we have on the roster, but two, we have gone out and we've signed Tremaine Edmunds, formerly of the Buffalo Bills. He's going to come to partner up right next to CJ Mosley, and we're going to have a super lethal 1-2 in the middle of our field. We're giving Tremaine Edmunds a 4-year, $44 million deal. Same kind of concept with Alan Lazard. We're going to try to lower the cap number a little bit earlier so that we get a bigger cap number later, giving us some ability to work things out now. And those are all of the free agent signings, players that we're bringing back, everything that we've done. With all of that, that gives us a roster size of about 59 to 62-ish people, depending on some of the later, like Chaz Surratt and whether or not we keep him around and those kinds of things. So we've got a really, really nice full roster, and that gives us just enough cap space at the end of the day to go out and draft our guys. So let's go through the draft. Remember that we do not have a center on the team because we didn't re-sign a center at all outside of Nate Herbig, so we need to find one in the draft. We didn't bring in a safety, and that's one because I believe in Tony Adams, and I like our safety rooms outside of Jordan Poyer. Not Jordan Poyer, why did I say that? LaMarcus Joyner leaving, and so we're going to probably address that. Interior defensive line is a little bit thin, and let's just fill out the back ends of our roster. So we don't have a pick in the first round. It comes, it goes. We come into the second round, and we're picking at 43, and my favorite offensive center in the entire draft is sitting there available at 33, and we sprint to the podium and we go get him, and that is John Michael Schmitz of Minnesota. Comes to the New York Jets, fits our scheme perfectly in the wide zone run scheme, and is an instant day one starter for the New York Jets. Welcome to New York, John Michael Schmitz. We go and we wait until the third round, pick 74, and a guy that I think a lot of us were really, really high on last offseason before he decided to go back to school, and then Alabama's defense absolutely sucked. Jordan Battle, safety out of Alabama, is now the newest New York Jet. He comes into a very young room with a lot of experience with Wilt Parks and some other guys like that, but also and Jordan Whitehead, but also Young and Ashton Davis, Tony Adams, and Jordan Battle now are all competing for the starting spots. We're building this pipeline in the safety room, which is exactly what we need. Cheap talent that can play at the NFL level. We wait into the fourth round, and now we're going to address the interior of the defensive line. We let Solomon Thomas go, and some of these other guys go, and while I do foresee us going and getting Jonathan Marshall off of the Pittsburgh Steelers practice squad, we're going to bring in a new, young, exciting talent, quick, explosive. We're going to bring in Byron Young, defensive interior out of Alabama. Yep, we went to Alabama back to back, and we're bringing him in. He seems to be and kind of fit like what a JFM kind of role is. He's a little too small to play inside. He's a little too big to play outside. He can kind of play both relatively well, and that's what we're doing there. Then we wait until round 5, and we're going to try to replace some of the wide receiver talent that we lost, and we're going to draft Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. I love this kid. 6'3", lightning fast, can come in and help fill that Corey Davis-sized hole left in the wide receiver room. We go to round 6, and our first pick in round 6 is edge out of LSU, Ali Gay, and then we round out our draft by going at the linebacker position, getting more depth. We're going to Pitt, and we're drafting Servassier Dennis out of Pittsburgh, linebacker, and that is our offseason. And guys, I don't know about you, but I feel incredibly confident and incredibly good about that team that we just built. Our linebackers got infinitely better in Tremaine Edmunds and CJ Mosley now partnering up in the middle of the field. And we still have guys like Jamie Sherwood and Hamza Nasruddin. We've added a guy like Servassier Dennis. Chaz Surratt and all of these guys can get an opportunity to possibly play at the next level. And so our linebacker room is deep and very top heavy, but that's exactly what I wanted. And our safety room is going to be a safety room done by committee. We bring in a rookie center to take over for Connor McGovern because unfortunately we weren't able to sign him. And then we bring in Alan Lazard to round out a really, really good and deep wide receiver room, giving Aaron Rodgers as many weapons as possible, fixing the O-line, and doing all of the things that we needed in the offseason. Guys, let me know what you think about this offseason. What players would you have signed with our $38 million in cap space after the Aaron Rodgers trade? Did I give too much for Aaron Rodgers? Did I not give enough? Let me know in the comment section below. And last but not least, and always, go Jets.